an appearance that instantly went viral and generated a record-breaking number of requests for an analysis. The interview divided viewers straight down the middle. Some people saw a man struggling through a difficult story, while others saw red flags all over his delivery. In this video, we're breaking down his noticeable shifts in confidence, depending on the topic.
Did he say somebody threw up a drone out of nowhere? When did you see it? And how did you know it? Thank you for the
There were
float,
no
heart.
drones, but then somebody earlier that day flew a drone up. We didn't know where it came from, and we're like, what's the deal with this? I'd have flown that drone up his ass if we could have had it.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Behavioral Arts. My name is Spidey, and I use my degree in sociology and psychology, my certifications in criminal interrogation and body language analysis, and my experience as an award-winning mentalist to teach people behavioral analysis and practical psychology on stages and television shows all over the world. Earlier this week on the Sean Ryan Show, Charlie Kirk's head of security, Brian Harpole, made an appearance that instantly went viral and generated a record-breaking number of requests for an analysis. The interview divided viewers straight down the middle. Some people saw a man struggling through a difficult story, while others saw red flags all over his delivery. In this video, we're breaking down his noticeable shifts in confidence, depending on the topic, along with a few things he said that really stand out once they're put in context. What do his body language, facial expressions, and word choice actually reveal? Let's dive right in.
And afterwards, we went to dinner, and he was just eating sushi, and we were laughing, and it was just these goofy things, like you were sitting around a table in high school with a bunch of guys that you were cutting it up with, and I just remember he was like, he really loved the sushi, and he was like, Brian, you gonna eat that? And I was like, no. And he just starts eating it off my plate, and I'm like, this is, yeah, and it's just like, man, it was cool, you know.
Okay, so I wanted to start with that clip of him telling the story of him and Charlie to really stress the importance, especially in this analysis, between baseline and idiosyncratic gestures. Because very often in behavioral analysis, we use the word baseline to talk about both those things, but there's an important distinction. Baseline means the behaviors that we're seeing with a person in this specific conversation. Idiosyncratic gestures means behaviors that a person does regardless of conversation. For example, when I speak, I use a lot of illustrators. I use my hands a lot. And this is because of my background as an entertainer. This is idiosyncratic for me. In other words, in any interaction at any time, I use my hands to speak. The reason it's important to distinguish between those two things in this interview is because it's likely that Brian Harpole's baseline here is different from other conversations. He knows that he has a lot of difficult questions to answer here. He knows that the world is watching, so it's likely that his baseline is going to be a little more stressed than usual. But we're getting some very good baseline information right here as he's telling this story. So he sits in his chair and speaks with a pretty low tone, pretty calm. His hands are often by his side, and they come up to illustrate something. Like when he talks, how he grabs something off of his plate. But generally, they're not up here all the time, and he's not doing big gestures very often. You'll also notice that verbal leaks are quite common for him, and we're going to see this throughout the entire interview. Verbal leaks are when somebody says mid-sentence. Some people can go hours of conversation without ever saying or Some people say it a lot as they speak naturally, and he's one of those people. Another thing you'll notice is that in this clip, and in a lot of the clips that we're going to see, quite often, his head goes down like this as he's talking. Now, typically, when somebody doesn't do this, and all of a sudden we see this start to happen, it's a guarding gesture. Somebody's getting defensive. The chin comes down, the shoulders might come up into a position that we call turtling, because we're protecting the vital parts of the body. But in Brian Harpole's case, it's happening a lot, consistently throughout the interview, regardless of topic. Another thing that we're starting to see here that's very much part of his personality baseline rather than his behavioral baseline is the importance that he places on brotherhood and friendship. So even in the way that he's talking about this story with Charlie, saying that it was like a bunch of guys in high school, and he often speaks in this kind of group or belonging to a group way, and you're going to see a lot of examples of that coming up. This is something that we pay a lot of attention to, not just in criminal profiling, but even as a mentalist on stage, when I'm reading someone for entertainment, Brian is certainly someone who likes to fit in to that group that he considers his brotherhood. And if we look at him, you can tell. There's nothing about the way he dresses that stands out. There isn't this big piece that's a statement or anything like that. He has a little cross. This is, of course, a proud display of the religious group that he belongs to. So even that is a demonstration of belonging. And a lot of what he says